am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today, I have my special guest. He's the author of upcoming novel Out of the Shadow, no other than Mr. Blue Mat.
Hey Daniel, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Blue, and Guten Tag, Germany. Thank you so much, Germany, for supporting this podcast. You know, Mr. Blue, that I have a lot of listeners in Germany. So, Mr. Blue, can you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Blue, and I came, like, I just moved to Germany. I wrote this novel when I was working in the US, but due to the immigration law and visas law and stuff like that, I wasn't allowed to publish it. So it was sitting on my shelf for almost over 3 years. I started the novel like end of 2019, and I finished by end of 2020. And since then, I did nothing with it except the editing, the proofreading, all the essentials. So I said once I can hit the ground running, I will hit the ground running, and uh, and that's what I did once I get that chance. So I'm very excited to release it. It will be available on August 8th, and it's my first ever, and it's not the last, hopefully, because I'm working on one, and I have another one is in editing as well.
Congratulations, Mr. Blue. So, who are your favorite authors that influence you the most?
There are so many of them, but who wrote Handmaid's Tale?
Handmaid Tale. He's a Canadian author, I believe.
Yeah, she is. She always I like the world she built, the dark and the weird idea, and for me she is my role model. And when I started to write, I had my friends in a group chat in Telegram to be my alpha reader. So the imposter syndrome and how to overcome it, and I need to get compliments and stuff like that. And one of them told me, "Oh, your writing is kind of a mix of two big names. I'm not comparing myself to them, but
Yes.
what he said, George R. R. Martin, and I need to remember her name.
Miss Margaret Atwood.
Atwood, yes,
Yes.
Margaret Atwood. And it's a mix between George R. R. Martin and Margaret Atwood, and I was like, oh, that made me so happy. I love Margaret Atwood, and I love her books and everything. So, and George R. R. Martin is a big name, of course, but yeah, like I think after Game of Thrones, there was a fever. Everyone was trying to mimic George R. R. Martin's style, and I was trying to stay away as much as I can from that style because everyone started killing their character left and right, and for me, no. If there is a reason why, I would do it, but not just for the shock.
Oh, yes, definitely. Margaret Atwood and George Martin, if you describe their writing styles, what is it or what are they?
Uh, George R. R. Martin more of like a magical world kind of person, where Margaret Atwood is reality, but in its worst cases, uh, when it's dark. For example, her most famous work, The Handmaid's Tale. where the population has stopped delivering babies, except for a few women, and how the society treated these few women. Uh, there's nothing magical. There's no dragons. There's no special power. Where George R. R. Martin is more like, yeah, it's realistic, but there are some some aspect of his writing to okay, there is no logic in my writing because there is walkers, there is dragon, there is uh, there are so many aspects that is not realistic in our day-to-day life. So in my novel, in Out of the Shadow, I didn't follow that style at all. It's all realistic. Yes, it's like another world. It's not our Earth. However, it sounds similar to our Earth. Uh, it's the same human aspect between everywhere. Like right now, with for example the uh, global warming, believer and denier. Some people believe in global warming, and the others say, "Oh, that all is a lie." And the plot of not the main point of the story is there was a disease happened in that universe, and that disease affected men, so they make them are about to extend. And still, the people are debating the facts. Is COVID vaccine good for us or not good for us? It's the same concept. A human will be human everywhere. So uh, it's dark, it's realistic, but also it's a fantasy because some of the stuff are, I'm not going to say magical, but some of the stuff are not realistic.
Out of the Shadow, how did you crafted it?
Uh, so I have been always interested in the media, and I wanted to become an actor, but I was rejected because the way I the way my voice comes out. It's always like someone is shocking me. So I was denied to become to even perform in school plays or anything. So I said, okay, if I cannot act, let me write, and I did wrote some material in my original language from from where I came from originally. But then I stopped, and this is my first. I never published anything. It was all written to myself. However, because writing is not a responsibility over there. Um, Writing is a dangerous mission. Let's put it that way. So I never published anything. So this is the first time ever in my life I write something and I will publish it, and it's not in my original language. So I'm very proud of it. What inspired it? I was reading an article about a chromosome Y and chromosome X, and how they act together, and and the author of the article was like in 2050 there will be less men versus women and stuff like that. And from that article, the moment I read it, I start building the word into my head, and I started imagine how it started, how it become, and how it's going forward. And in my universe, it's more like we are in the age where our humans still exist. Not all of them went extinct. Like there are similar concepts when I was researching. There are similar concepts, but most of the similar concepts to Out of the Shadow are like the men are extinct. There is no men. Where the point I started with, no, there are still men. They are still fighting for power. They still want the world not to change, and they want to keep everything as it is. Um so And this is the first book in the series, and I was planning 4 books or 5 books. I haven't decided yet based on how it will go. If I will go with a prequel, it will be 5 books. If without the prequel, it will be 4 books.
Interesting, Mr. Blue. So, out of the shadow, what behind the title of your debut novel of the series?
As I mentioned, when I started writing the novel, it started with the name "Where Is Why," and I didn't feel the name is. I didn't like the name. So I kept over the year thinking of names for of a name of the novel. However, then it hit me one day because with the help of another writer, we were in a critique group together, and she mentioned the name, and in a way I liked it because it has a deeper meaning. For ages, uh, men were always like getting out of everything, like in all the pictures. Look at the Nobel prizes, how many men versus women. Look at the sport, look at the political leadership of all of our aspect life. It's just started to see like women coming out of the shadow of the men and become their own thing. And to be honest, even like in modern society, it started to happen back in the 80s, late 70s, where before that it was all the men doing everything, and the woman job was to stay at home, take care of the kids, clean the house, cook, and then they started to get out. So the that was behind the title of the novel, getting out of the shadow man. And the big the big not the serious title is Under the Wing, because they everyone were at one point of the time in the history under the main wing, and they are coming out of that wing right now. And at the same thing, that wing provided shadow, and when the women stood up for themselves and established their queendom in out of the shadow realm, they just got out of the shadow of the men and they started on their own, and they had to figure it out how to build democracy, how to build a world that fits all, like without exclusion, without being horrible to another person just because it's from a different gender. Are they successful in that or they failed in doing that? That depends on the reader opinion. But you know, every nation has its own mistake at one point or another.
Very well said, Mr. Blue. But before we go on, I want to shout out to the people listening, of course, in Germany. Duncan, people of Germany. In Hesse, I got 23% audience share. Bavaria, 19%. Rheinland Plus, 16%. North Rhine-Westphalia, 15%. Land Berlin at 8%. Lower Saxony at 4%. Baden-Württemberg region 2%, Baden-Württemberg 2%, Saxony at 2%, Schleswig-Holstein 1%, Hamburg 1%, Thuringia 1%, Free and Hanseatic City of Hamburg 1%, Seerland 1%, Baden-Württemberg 1%, Mecklenburg-Vorpommern 1%, and last but not the least, Saxony out. Dankeschön, Germany, for supporting this podcast, because this podcast is created to empower writers all over the world, like Mr. Blue Man. So, Mr. Blue, out of the shadow, what is the best highlight?
The best highlight is the human being human everywhere, and the nature will take its course no matter what they do. So and if there's something and there is an evidence, follow the evidence. Don't be a denier. That is the highlight. In I'm excited to know. what the people think. I'm excited to hear about their feedback, about their reviews, and I'm so excited about it.
Talk about the main characters of Out of the Shadow. What can you say about it?
So we have the story follow multiple characters, but the main one and the person who stirs the action and the event in the novel is Princess Malak. She is the daughter of the strongest king in the area, and she refuses uh, her dad accepting a proposal from another king. So she decided to run from Sada to Hava. And Sada is the strongest kingdom, and Hava is the strongest queendom. Based on that event, all the five remaining kingdom unite against Hava, and the event starts. And I also provided maps within the story so everyone can follow where everything is at the moment, and what happened, and what is the border changes and stuff like that. So that is the main character. She is courage. She is fearless. She she stopped. Um, she didn't say yes for the marriage proposal, and she thought her life value more than just being a housewife, a wife among the other wives for that king.
Out of the Shadow, what do you think missing in the novel?
As I mentioned, this was sitting over 3 years on the shelf, and every time I read it, I say, I wish I did that. I wish I added this, but I resisted the changes, and I didn't make any changes, and I left it as it is, just because I said if I had the opportunity to publish it at that time, I would publish it, and I cannot make any changes. I'm not going to say I wrote the perfect novel. No, it missed some aspect. However, I will wait for the reader to tell me what I miss.
That'd be awesome, yes. Which chapter do you enjoy the most?
So usually, and that is with all usually, and that always with all my writing, I enjoy writing the beginning when I establish and I build the world or the universe, and I enjoy the ending a lot. Uh, Based the one the my favorite one of my favorite chapter is the fifth chapter in Out of the Shadow. It's because the way I wrote it, I wanted to draw question marks on the reader to make them flip the pages to be curious, and and in chapter five. Uh, and in my opinion, if I'm going to change something, I'm going also to change chapter 5, but I'm not going to talk bad about it. But in chapter 5, I explained the situation. I explained the realm, how the world works, what are and half what is the division of the men, explaining what happened in the first scene in the first chapter. Because I opened with a shocker, and in my opinion, that was a choker. I don't know what the people will think, but the explaining everything in the world that happened in the past and to this point, what happened, all laid down in chapter five, and in a way, not by tell the reader. I showed the reader like by following some of the character into the the farmer market and what they are the building in the farmer market and what they do. It's like a history lesson without me telling the writer, me telling the reader, oh, this is what we do here and this is what we do there and this is why we do this. No, there's a story from the past why this is happening the way it is happening right now.
Out of the Shadow, if you want to categorize it, which genre?
I would say a dystopian, dark fantasy, urban dark fantasy, for sure.
So if you rate your debut novel Out of the Shadow, how dark it is?
I would say 9 out of 10.
Oh, very dark, people. So we
Very dark, very dark. Yes, because for me, with all respect, I'm not writing about a world where everything is peaceful and pink and purple and everyone is happy. No, it's a world that based on our reality and how our reality could be if we don't follow the evidence, if we don't follow the reality, if we kept the denial shell above our head.
yes, indeed, Mr. Blue. What is your long-term and short-term goals in writing?
Uh, my short-term goal is, of course, I hope Out of the Shadow will be a success. And my short-term goal is to be able to write three, 2 to 3 novels at the same time, and not just one novel after working hour. Because right now I feel I'm more of a hobbyist than an author, but in reality, I feel like no, I want to focus on both profession. However, my long goal is for Out of the Shadow to be successful, and once I complete the series, to be adapted by HBO, uh, which is a big dream for me, and I know it's almost impossible to do that just because I don't have an agent and I'm a self-publisher, and HBO will not even talk to me because of that. But that is one of my goals, and I hope it will happen one day.
Yes, Mr. Blue, as they said, dream big. Oh, because dreaming it will not cost you. So dream
Ex-
big, people.
Exactly, because if you are not dreaming, you are not alive. You are dead.
Yes. So, Mr. Blue, before we go on, I'm inviting you to listen to my other podcast, Food 101, on our third season with Chef Alessandro, one of the best executive chef in one of the best restaurant in Toronto. So please do listen. Our next episode this week or this Monday, we're gonna talk about gelato, gelato, people, because it's summer, 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 and hot, hot, hot. Plus one
Yeah, I
more.
need that.
Gelato, gelato. Yes, definitely. Our book Food 101, Volume 1 Basics is already out, and this book is all about our 100 episodes of our first season. Food 101, Volume 1 Basics is all the basics that you need to create a delicious food. So please do grab a copy. Food 101, Volume 1 Basics. And I do already the Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4. Yeah, it's out already also, Volume 4. So please check all those volumes because they are all one of a kind topics in the kitchen. If you are an aspiring cook, aspiring chef, those are the things that you need to know to become a good chef or a good cook. So, Mr. Blue, what else you can say about Out of the Shadow?
Out of the Shadow will be released on August 8th. So, and for the release week, there will be a promotion for the sale. It will be at the cheapest price I can offer the ebook and paperback. The paperback is a little bit costly than other book in the market. However, the reason behind that, not because I'm greedy, that because I wanted to give the reader the best experience. Especially, I have flags, I have maps, and I didn't want it to go with a cheap print, black and white. I decided to go with premium coloring, so the reader enjoy the experience of the book. and that's why I didn't have the option to set multiple prices, black and white or coloring. However, it will be sold at the cheapest price. I can sell it on the week of the release from August 8th, Tuesday, August 8th. My social media, I am on almost everyone: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, TikTok. I tried to do threads, but I cannot post anything on threads, and they are ignoring me. However, all my social media under one username, Blue Matt Jeff, except for Facebook. It didn't allow me to name myself with the name that I want to be Blue, so it's under Matt Jeff.
Okay, people, let's support Mr. Blue because they support him. He will give more books, right? More books to come, right, Mr. Blue?
Yes, we have. I have Online Rebellion. It's in editing right now. It should be done this week, and after the approval, it will go into a proofreading, and I'm aiming for a December release. Right now, I am working currently in a book in a different style, not fantasy at all. Its name, Just Clear Your Mind. It follows a character who has an ADHD, and he doesn't know that he has ADHD. So he does a lot of weird things and stuff, and he doesn't understand why he act that way.
Yes. Thank you for your time, Mr. Blue.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for your audience. And danke schön für meinen Deutschfreund.
Yes, Dankeschön, Germany, for supporting this podcast. Moricon, people. See you soon.